most of us hanker after some blissful moments from childhood, where a carefree sense of peace and freedom had us in rapture. A wistful longing to return to that transcendent state can occasionally surface throughout our adult lives. These are echoes of some of our deepest longings. Like intangible things generally, it's difficult to say what this personal freedom is. It's much easier to say what it is not. It's essentially an absence of feeling restricted in our being, in our action, in our inaction, in our expression. This feeling of personal freedom is, contrary to popular belief, non-dependent on anything external, not on possession, accomplishments, relationships, or anything at all. It is influenced more by our internal stance and less by our external circumstances. That is not to say that external circumstances cannot trigger internal reactions, but only what is there can be triggered. After decades of reflecting, contemplating, and wondering about life's purpose, meaning, and possibilities, I now see that we are about as free as we are without personal defenses and secrets. Secrets, by their very nature, need to be defended. And what is vulnerability but the absence of unnecessary self-protection? That unnecessary self-protection is so detrimental to our peace and personal freedom. The armor that keeps the attacker out equally keeps the protected in. The protected being imprisoned by its own defenses. Inclusion is a beautiful word. Inclusion is in the natural order of things. Our vain efforts to exclude someone or something results only in we being excluded ourselves. So, welcome, invite, embrace everything, internally and externally, as it is, because it's the way it is. In a sense, everything is perfect the way it is, simply because it's the way it is. We feel happy and free in large measure to the degree that we are in acceptance, and so not in resistance. At the root of many of our problems is our sense of separation. Hopefully, you will have noticed that I did not say our separation. I said our sense of separation. Because there is no separation. What is needed is that we see through the illusion of separation. It follows that we do not need to connect because we are always and forever connected. Only in that effortless connection can we find real security. All is one. It's called a universe for a reason. Our inner state influences our experience of life, and so influences our sense of freedom. But what influences our inner state? Perspective certainly does. Perspective is simply one's take on something. It's an angle, a position, usually colored by conditioning, education, ethnicity, life experiences, in fact, almost everything imaginable. The bigger and broader the perspective, the better. Perspective helps to create balance, and balance helps to create happiness and well-being. A very common misperception is that we are not enough, or that we should be enough, or that there is a way to be enough. All this is based on the false premise that we need, or ought to be, something. When we see that we are not, have never been, and can never be anything, then the need to be something no longer applies. It simply has no validity or relevance anymore. Trying to be something or trying to be enough also comes from the belief that something is missing or lacking. But when we see ourselves as the container and not as the contents, everything changes. The contents is always lacking. The container is forever complete. In a sense, to have something is to have nothing. To have nothing is to have everything. To be fulfilled, be empty. We are not in the world. The world is in us. That's a perspective changer. What we see is primarily not based on what we are looking at, but rather where we are looking from internally. Our state determines from where we are looking in every moment, in every circumstance. Our state influences our perspective, and our perspective influences our experiences. We waste so much time and energy trying to find happiness, peace, and freedom from problems. That requires resistance, and this resistance is both futile and counterproductive. We all want to be happy, and we are about as happy as we are in acceptance, and so not in resistance. We find peace and freedom with problems, not from them. The wave that knows it's part of the ocean is a happier wave than the wave that thinks it's something special. The happy wave, knowing that it is the ocean, is unconcerned about its apparent impending crash upon the rocks. The special wave, seeing itself as only a separate wave, is terrified by what it sees as its impending and inevitable annihilation. All things are impermanent and fleeting. The metaphorical ocean is permanent. The wave is temporary. Put your eggs in the permanent basket. In summary, to feel peaceful and free, be vulnerable, be inclusive, be in acceptance, hear the silence, be no thing, be with problems, take a broad perspective, put your trust in the permanent, and be aware that even though you look like a wave, you are the ocean. Thank you.